So go ahead and create a new document, and we're going to do a new blank workbook. So here's what we're going to do. You need to make, when you're making a graph, you have to have at least 2 columns. So let's say we're doing the cheese lab. To start typing the column, you double tap, and you're going to put your independent variable in the first column. So let's say I was comparing the curd volume of different curdling agents. So I would want my independent variable, curdling agents, to be in one column. And then my dependent variable was curd volume, and I would put that in the other column. Okay, so it's cut off, and so in order to see the whole size of that, we're going to hide our, I have a glitch here. There we go. So you go up here to resize the columns, you just drag that little green thing at the top so that you can see all of the words. And we want to do that because we want to make sure that we can read our tables. So curd volume here too is a little cut off. So we're going to go ahead and drag that and make that a little bit bigger. Okay, and then here I'm going to list, well, what were the different things I tested? I tested chymosin, and I tested renin, and we also had a negative control, which was water. So we'll just maybe put negative control in parentheses. All right. Another thing you can do, instead of just resizing the column, you can also do a text wrap. So if you long press on that cell and just do wrap, then it will make it so it fills out 2 lines. And then I want to put down my curd volume. So these are the numbers that you recorded from your experiments. So let's say when I did chymosin, I got 4.7 milliliters. Now I don't want to put milliliters because in Excel, if you put units inside a cell with a number, then you're not able to graph with that. So make sure not to include the units. Instead, we'll put the units up top here in parentheses. So milliliters up here. And then for renin, I got 3.1 milliliters, and my negative control water, I got 0.2 milliliters. These are completely made up numbers, but they make sense, right? Again, let's go ahead and resize this column so that everything fits. Now, with this data, I want to make a graph. So when I make a graph, I'm going to highlight my table. And you can include the headings or you don't have to include the headings. Sometimes it will, make nice, easy titles and things for you. So once I have that highlighted, I want to insert. So go to the Insert tab up top, and I want to insert a chart. Okay? So now we have to select what type of chart we want. So different charts are useful for different reasons. Column and bar charts are pretty much the same thing, just one's vertical, one's horizontal. Line graphs, those are good for like tracking something over time. XY scatter plots are ones that we use a lot when we're comparing an X versus a Y. So the ones you'll be using the most are probably going to be column charts and XY scatter plots. It's unlikely that you're going to be using those other things. So for this data, because I only have one set of numbers, curd volumes, I'm going to use a column chart. And then it'll give you some options on which ones you want. Probably I'm just going to go with your basic 2D column chart. Okay? And what you'll notice, because I highlighted the headings, it actually kind of auto-detected my labels for my chymosin, renin, and my negative control, and it gave a title called curd volume. Now, those aren't necessarily the things that I want, so we need to edit these. So in order to edit it, you go up here to Elements at the top, and you can put axes, okay? And then there's axis titles. We always want to title both our horizontal and our vertical axis. So our x-axis, we're going to call this curdling agent. So to edit that, you just double tap on it, and we're going to put curdling agent, because that's what's shown on the x-axis. And then we're going to go back up to chart elements. And then we also want to put a label on our vertical axis. And so what is that? That is curd volume. And then, of course, since those are numbers, we have to include our units. So make sure you have your units on that axis. Okay. And Excel goes glitchy. It'll do that every once in a while. There we go. Now we need to put a better title on here. Now this title is not very good. So you want to have a very descriptive title, something versus something, right? So curd volume versus, or type of curdling agent versus curd volume, or you could put something like comparison of curd volumes for different curdling, curdling agents. So we want our titles to be very descriptive so nobody has any question about what's going on in this graph. All right? And then I'm just going to go back over to sheet 2 because it glitched out. So if you go to the bottom of sheet 2, if it ever glitches out like that, you can just make a new sheet, and then if you go back and forth, it resets the screen for some reason. Okay? And there you have it. Now you have a very nice visual representation of the data that was in this table. You can do this for any 2 columns. It doesn't have to be, you can also have an average or something like that, but that is how you would make a column chart for a set of data. If you were comparing 2 sets of numbers, that would be a different type of graph. That would be a histogram, or not, sorry, this is a histogram. That would be a scatter plot, and we will go over scatter plots later when we learn about spectrophotometry. And now what you can do, what's really nice about Excel, is you can actually just copy this chart, and it will paste into whatever app you want to paste it into, Notability, Google Docs, Word, Pages. It'll paste it in as just a picture. And it's nice and easy and clean. And so that is how you make a nice, perfectly labeled graph in Excel on your iPad. And then as we do things, we always want to make sure that our documents are labeled. So let's see. If you go up there, let's name your document. So a lot of scholars are not very good about naming documents, and then it gets lost. So we want to name this something that we're going to remember. We're going to call it Cheese Lab Data. That's a good name for your document. That way, when you want to go back and look at it, you don't have to go through workbook 1, workbook 2, workbook 3, workbook 4. Which workbook was it? Name your files, guys. Okay, and there you go. Saved.